And what he said to me that day that changed my life, he said, "You've been afraid that if you make too much money, you would put money above me. The problem is, I told you to run a business. And because of your fear of money, you're not running the business well. So you've already put money above me, but what you did was you put the fear of money above what I told you to do, which was run a strong, profitable business." And that changed my life, because as soon as I realized that I had already put money above God, which was the very thing I was trying not to do, I got mad. Like, I got angry. And I literally, the guy was still talking to me. I'm not paying attention anymore. We get off the phone and I make a decision. I was like, if money has been such a source of challenge for myself, for my family, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna prove that I'm not afraid of money. I'm gonna become a millionaire in a year. That was my decision.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Eternal Optimist podcast. I'm your host, Matt Drinkon. And today we have a special treat on the show. I have a world-renowned, famous, I know our guest today, Toyin Crandell. I know her as someone that I've been listening, enjoying her music for the past month, because when I was recommended to her by Megan Thompson, she said, you got to check out her on Spotify. So I went to Toyin Crandell on Spotify and started listening to her music, and it's beautiful. It's music that will soothe your soul. So that's the way that I met her. And now we get to meet her today, in addition to being a renowned artist. Let me just read you a couple things I have on her bio sheet, which are pretty cool, right? She's a keynote speaker, 2-time best-selling author of Radical Obedience and Money Mindset Shift. She's the founder of a multi-million-dollar coaching and consulting company, recognized twice as one of Canada's fastest 400 growing businesses. She's going to share a little bit today on her journey. She's gone from homelessness to 11 income streams. Holy freaking cannoli. We have such a special treat today. We can go in so many directions today, but she's spoken all over the world, and she's someone that I am very, very honored to have her on her show. So please welcome to the show, Miss Toyin Crandell. Toyin.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on the show. And what an introduction. Sometimes I hear the pieces of where we've been and where we are, and I'm like, I can't believe that's all happened in the last 8 years. It's wild. Wild.
8 years? Oh my God.
In the last 8 years. 8 years ago, we were homeless. Ain't nobody knew my name. Outside, I was doing ministry, so ministry people knew my name, but ain't nobody out here in the marketplace knew me. And so it's just crazy what can happen in a very short amount of time.
It's insane crazy what can happen in a short amount of time. Because this is wow. I had no idea it was only 8 years ago. So I want to dive into that, but before we do, is there anything else that our audience might need to know? Like, who is Toyin Crandell? Like, if you can give us some context as we dive in today.
Okay. So I am just the way that I think of myself, I'm a child of God first. That's my first place of identity, is that God made me, loves me, knows me, and I know him and love him in return. I'm a wife, have an amazing husband that's just my partner for life. We were best friends before we got married, and we are still best friends. And I feel like I'm in a big, long camp with my bestie. And I'm a homeschooling mama of 3 little ones, an 8-year-old, a 5-year-old, a 2-year-old. And so we are a little bit busy in our house. And I also run a multi-million-dollar coaching and consulting company with multiple staff members all over the world, and have spoken all over the world. And the biggest thing I would say about myself is I am obsessed with watching people transform their lives. Once you realize that you are not stuck, and that people are not stuck, and that they can actually transform not just who they're being, but the results they're getting, whether it's in their life, in their money, in their business, in their career, in their health, like, I have just become obsessed with seeing that transformation over and over and over again in the lives of the clients that we run with. So we've helped people go from coming to us saying, I want to earn $2,000 a month, to earning $740,000 in 2 years. We just create transformation by the grace of God. And I'm very grateful for the I'm even grateful for the challenges we've had, because it's led to the lessons that I learned that now have set so many, literally tens of thousands. We've coached over 72,000 people at this point. It's set tens of thousands of people free themselves. So that's a little bit of who I am. And the reason I use the word obsessed is because it was actually a videographer of mine that was, he follows me and takes a bunch of video. And one day he was interviewing me for one of our videos, and he goes, "Toyin, are you obsessed?" And I was like, I was going to say no, because I'm like, I'm not obsessed with anything, about anything. But then I paused and I thought about it. And I'm like, actually, I think if someone did look at the way that I live, they would say that I'm obsessed, because I don't play about people's transformation. Like I am very taken. I'm hyper focused on seeing people live the lives that they have on the inside of them, the lives that they envision on the inside, actually making that thing come to pass on the outside.
Fantastic. And the next logical question, since you're obsessed with helping people go through the transformation, is to come back and share with us part of your transformation. And I'm curious if you could just take us on a journey. I'm still floored by the idea that of all the things that you are doing in the world right now, that you were homeless 8 years ago. Because so first of all, can you take us back in time 8 years and chronicle just the challenges that you were going through 8 years ago, and when you finally maybe came to the point where something had to be different or something had to ignite, to take us back to that time in your life, and please take us forward. We're all ears.
All right. So what happened was that we were very happy as a family. And, just like I said, I married my best friend. And so we're very happy, had a very joyful home, peaceful home. We just had our baby. She was 6 months old at that time, just one. And we were just living our lives and having a blast, serving people. We're doing ministry. I was singing. We were touring. And there was one day, it was December 2016, when we were living in a very tiny basement apartment. So we were happy, but we had no money, but I didn't care, right? We're living in this tiny basement apartment. The full apartment is just a little bit bigger than the office that I'm currently in right now. Like when I say we only had a kitchen, a hallway, a bedroom. The hallway we converted into our living room, and because we love books, so we put like all our bookshelves just lined up in this hallway and put an air mattress on the floor as our couch, and then we had our bedroom. So my husband had brought my dinner to me in the room, and he wasn't in the room, he was in the kitchen. And I start eating, and I'm like, "Hey babe, where are you?" Because number one, we're best friends, we're always together when we're together. And number two, he's like, I'm eating in the kitchen. And I'm like, "Babe, why are you eating in the kitchen? We don't have a dining table. We don't have chairs there." So I was like, "We eat in the room. Come over." So he comes into the bedroom, and I say to him, "What are you eating?" Just curious. And he goes, "Chocolates." And I laugh because my husband has a sweet tooth. And so I'm like, "Ha ha ha, yeah, you're having chocolates. What are you really eating for dinner?" And he goes, "Chocolates. Toyin, we're out of food. We've been out of food the entire week. And every time I think about this, it just floors me. Number one, just who he is, but number two, how real this struggle was." He goes, "We've been out of food for a week, and I've been giving you the last of our food because you're feeding the baby," because I was nursing then. And he said, "And I've been eating chocolates every day." Just to keep things going. And what was even harder was even the chocolates he was eating weren't even chocolates we bought. It was Christmas, right? December. So, when people give each other chocolates for Christmas, it was actually a box of chocolates that a friend had given us. And he goes, "Toyin, we're out of food. I think we need to go to a food bank or something, but we're out of food. We're out of money." And that was my first wake-up call. That was the moment that I realized, and I talk about it in my book, Money Mindset Shift. That was the moment that I realized you can't pay rent with joy. You can't buy, as happy as we were, as peaceful as we were, you can't buy groceries with peace. And so as much as I truly ignored money, like I would never talk about money. If people talked about money, I was like, you're too focused on money. God provides. Don't worry about it. Don't think about it. Like as much as I wanted to ignore the money conversation, that was the day that I was like, Toyin, you are ignoring this at the expense of your child and of your future. And I think, when you're single, it doesn't matter. I could eat rice and rice, plain rice for years as a single person. Me and my husband were very humble people. We don't care. So we could struggle together. But the moment there's a child in the mix, it's like, what life am I going to give my child? And so that was my wake up call. And so I get serious about making money. I'm running my business and we start implementing strategy. And guess what happens? I have a $7,000 month. So I have 1 month, I earn 7,000 and I'm like, I've cracked the code, right? I'm like, we will never be poor again. The problem was after my $7,000 month, I had zero. So I kept doing the same business, working just as hard, using the same strategy, and I had $0 come in. And then I have $500 come in. And what happened was the money would go down. Like I would have nothing while we used the 7. And then when the 7 was completely gone, then we had $5,000. And then same thing would happen. Nothing until the 5,000 was completely gone. And so now it is October 2017. And we've had these 2 big months, but on October, we don't have money for rent again. And I have to send an email to friends and family asking them for help. And I was so frustrated and just confused. Like, I'm like, I don't understand this, right? I'm Nigerian, right? I'm originally Nigerian before we migrated here decades ago. I'm a hardworking person. Like, I know I don't cop it out. Like, I put all into it. I've worked hard. I had strategy. We made money this year. What am I getting wrong? And it was that month that God just happened to put me in a leadership. He didn't put me in a leadership program. I signed up for a leadership program. And in this program, they did a personality assessment. The assessment was like 200 questions. And there was this guy who was supposed to do a review with you about your personality. And he's talking to me and he's like, Toyin, you have a very unique personality. And he kept saying unique. And like, I'm in my head, I'm going, everybody has a unique personality, sir. You are the person who looks at people's personalities. Nobody is the same. But then at one point he goes, I don't think you understand what I'm trying to say. He says, based on your IP, EP, EQ, whatever levels, you have the potential to have global impact. However, you likely never will because of 2 things.
Okay.
I was like, okay, what are the 2 things? And he goes, number 1, you're highly service oriented. And that's like a part of who I am. So I came back at him. I was like, yes, I am. He's like, you've probably worked in the social sector. I'm like, I worked at a women's shelter for 9 years. Like, I'm listing all the things. And he goes, there's nothing wrong with that. I ain't your enemy. That's not the way he said it, but he was just like, there's nothing wrong. He said, the problem is you're also demotivated by money. And I had never heard that phrase in my life, demotivated by money. But as soon as he said it, I felt God speak to me. I'm a person of faith. And I felt God say to me, Toyin, you're not just demotivated by money. You're afraid of money. And the reason I was afraid of money, and it was all true, was because my relationship with God is the highest value in my life. And for some reason, I had a belief that if I had more than enough money, if I wasn't struggling, my relationship with God would be compromised, because at that point, my prayers had been so full of God save us, God help us meet this need, God. And then we would pray for other things and other people. But that was a big part of the conversation I had with God, and he would always provide. So I had this thing of like, that's just a part of our relationship. And what he said to me that day that changed my life, he said, you've been afraid that if you make too much money, you would put money above me. The problem is, I told you to run a business. And because of your fear of money, you're not running the business well. So you've already put money above me. But what you did was you put the fear of money above what I told you to do, which was run a strong, profitable business. And that changed my life because as soon as I realized that I had already put money above God, which was the very thing I was trying not to do, I got mad. Like I got angry. And I literally, the guy was still talking to me. I'm not paying attention anymore. We get off the phone and I make a decision. I was like, if money has been such a source of challenge for myself, for my family, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to prove that I'm not afraid of money. I'm going to become a millionaire in a year. That was my decision. Now, I didn't do it in a year. I did it in 3 years, but we did it. So I ain't complaining, but that was kind of my transition. As soon as I realized that, that's actually part of what we teach is money mindset shift. I actually did this process where I said, what are my limiting beliefs about money? Then I did this other process of shifting them. And it was from there we started scaling and growing. And now we have multiple real estate properties, 11 different streams of income, and so on and so forth.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's how it works. That's
how it works. You change and everything around you changes.
Oh, I love so much of your story and the passion with you tell it. It really connects. It connects me for a number of different levels. One of the levels is kind of, I'm just sitting here as in church on Sunday and listening to the preacher talk about how that one of the parts of my faith that I don't quite understand that really challenges me because I don't want to listen. I'll just say it. I don't want to listen because we grew up very meager in the finance department as well. Money, we didn't talk about money. Is it bad? I don't know if it's bad or evil. It's just something we don't talk about.
I think there's this thing. It's kind of like it is evil, but we don't say it. But we kind of like, even if someone does talk about it, we're like, you know?
Yeah. Well, and people like us that just talk transparently about everything. I mean, we can talk about anything now, but it was a subject that was taboo. You don't talk about it. And here I am at 47 now, openly talking about it for the last 10 years on podcasts and coaching people to it. But I never used to. And it feels like you owned that part first. You had to make that. And that's what led to the transformation is you had to get right with your faith and your finance mindset. And
being able to coexist and realize that I think one of the things I had to learn was that like money has there's nothing connected to money. Money has no emotion. Money is literally just a tool. Money is like a laptop, right? Like I use this. People use their laptops to do evil in the world. People use their laptops to hack people. People use their laptops to view things that are not beneficial. People use their laptops to create trafficking rings and whatever. I use my laptop to spread good. And money is the exact same thing where money is literally just a tool and good people will do good things with money and people who have evil intent will do evil things with money. But there is that kind of sentiment that a lot of people carry without even noticing it, that if you have too much of it, somehow it's going to change you. It's going to corrupt you. And I'll tell you one thing that opened my eyes was getting around I got around these businessmen and they were hectomillionaires and they were Christian. And in my head, my parents were middle class. They actually did really well with money. They tried to teach me about it. I was the one that didn't pay attention. But I had this image in my mind of rich people. And in my mind, rich people didn't rely on God as much. They were prideful, uppity, just not spiritual people. And I get around these hectomillionaires and they are full of faith, walk in integrity, love their family, and they run global businesses that do tens and hundreds of millions of dollars. And it hadn't changed who they were. In fact, that fact had made them more disciplined. And so that was one of the big things that opened my eyes that, Toyin, it's safe. Like you're not going to change. You're not going to become this other person. And now that I'm on the other side, I get to tell other people, like, I still rely on God. In fact, I need his wisdom more today than I did then because I have families that depend on our business to serve them and pay them. And I have thousands of clients that depend on the wisdom of God. And so it literally, more money just made me more dependent on the person who is the CEO of our company, which is God.
That was deep. I love everything you said right there. Somewhere in there, the nugget that I'm going to extract is that you are around people that they had faith, they had high character, and they had money. And this is the first time you've been around people that have all these things together. So you see there's a different way. My story is similar, is that I viewed money as this bad thing, or at least something taboo, not to talk about. Don't bring it up. I was never around anybody that was I'd say anyway, financially successful, except for when I got around people for the first time in my early 20s after college that were successful. They made a lot of money. They had no faith at all. They didn't have any faith at all. So that was a constant for me. I was around business professionals who were leaders in their field, but they didn't have any faith, or maybe they did it growing up, but they didn't really practice it. And definitely their actions didn't show they were leading it.
They didn't reflect it.
Yeah, a lot of fake faith people. A lot of people that say this, but their actions have nowhere. And
the integrity.
Yeah, that I struggle with that. But you are around these mentors, these leaders that you can believe in, that if this is a path forward. So I guess what I feel compelled to say now is that now that you've seen that, you've been exposed to that, and you're becoming that, and you're living in that way, that is the way that we can glorify God. That is the way that you can be a successful business person who can make a great profit in your business and serve people. That's the model.
That is the model. And it's in being a person of integrity, like being a person of character. I found that, for example, I used to be in a coaching room, like a room of coaches, right? And we were all being coached by someone, and it was about 3,000 of us in the group. And out of the 3,000, there was a room of about 60 of us that were kind of the biggest businesses in the room. So I'm in this room of 60, and, I would share nuggets with the big group and all that. And people would often message me and say, Toyin, I want to get to know what your beliefs are, because the one thing I'm noticing about you is that you're killing it in business. Like, you're killing it. And you're very happy. Like, you're genuinely happy. You're not faking it happy. Like, before I go to bed, I'm laughing with my husband. And there's times where I'm like, okay, chill out. We need to sleep. Let's stop laughing. It's like genuine joy, consistency in the way that I show up. And it gives people a vision of, you don't have to sacrifice your joy for money. And I think it's also part of how I built. I've built with a mentality that I refuse to sacrifice or compromise my values, because I recognize that when I die, I'm not going to take $1 with me. So when we leave this planet, none of this stuff is going to matter outside of, did I obey what God told me to do? That's why my second book is on radical obedience. It's like, did I obey what God told me to do? And in obeying him, did I honor the people that he gifted me with, which is my husband, my children, the people that work on my team, the clients that he trusts me to serve and to steward? Am I treating the people well as I scale and push the mission he's given me to scale and to push? And I think sometimes we have a belief, and these are all limiting beliefs about money. People have a belief that you have to compromise your values if you're going to get to the top of the top. And I've been I have so many awards on my bookshelf that I literally don't have space to put them all up. So we are winning these awards without having to sacrifice values. There's one thing I have to add to this conversation, because I'm loving this conversation. We became one of the fastest growing companies in the country, top 400. And then we won the award in 2023, and they had a growth camp for the top 400 companies. And it was my first time attending. I had never heard of the award until that year. So I'm excited to be in the room, and I'm learning so much from so many people. And I had a conversation with someone who's also was one of the fastest growing companies. And, me and him were just talking, and we were agreeing on so many things. When you're talking to someone and you're nodding along. And then he said, because it's growth at all costs. And as soon as those words came out of his mouth, I had been nodding and going agreeing with him. And all of a sudden he goes, because it's growth at all costs. And I stopped nodding. And I can't even smile because I have no poker face. So I just freeze, because in my head I was like, bro, it's not growth at all costs for me. Like, I'm not going to grow my company at the expense of my faith or at the expense of my marriage or at the expense of my children. And so what was really dope was I remember leaving because I had heard a couple of people say growth at all costs. And I talked to God and I was just like, God, it would be really cool to get to share that it doesn't have to be that. And the next year I get on the list again. And this year I get an email from the organizer of the camp and they say, hey, Toyin, would you mind coming and sharing on our stage? Because we've been watching you and we love what you have to say and what you do. And I get to go on the stage last year. And before I leave that stage, I get to say, hey, can I just say one thing? And I add one last thing. And it was just, hey, everybody. This is amazing. We have all accomplished a huge, huge deal, being the top 400 fastest growing companies in the country, in a country with millions of businesses. It's a feat. But let's remember that it's not growth at all costs, that eternity matters, that we will all leave our businesses. We will either exit them or we will sell them, or we will simply die. None of us keep our businesses forever. And at the end of the day, you want to be able to know that the business did not come at the expense of other things that were more important, like our faith and our family and the people that we love.
Yes. And I feel, to build on that many times in the people that I'm coaching, high level CEOs and leaders, that getting that message you just shared back to them in their heart is of prime importance, because they are doing great in business, but in many cases there's a challenge of an emptiness or not enough attention the way they might want. So yeah, it's like a full everything: your faith, your family, and the people you serve in your business. So yeah, I think we have a lot that we can riff on. I for our listeners, I heard some things you shared that gave us some great questions you might use for journaling. And one question I'm hearing from you, it's actually, you can twist it in two ways. One, how am I honoring the people that God has gifted me in my life? And then how am I honoring God through the people that God has gifted me? So either way, you're honoring God and you're honoring people. That's you. That's a great it's a great question you gifted us. So thank you.
Thank you for pulling that out.
Well, I wonder from here, can you take us back, since I know that you've been on stages before, and just to throw a pattern interrupt, because why not right now? Can you take us back to a time when you were on stage and things didn't go exactly as planned? Like, what's your speaker snafu story? Everyone's got one. What is your story for that?
Oh boy. So I was on stage. This was actually last year. I was speaking to a group of 1,000 entrepreneurs, and I come in because they play music, when you're coming on stage, and I do my Christian Afro beats. I love it. So I'm dancing up and I come up and I start, like, my whole intro is like high energy. Let's go. And so, hi everybody, da 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 da. And I start using the clicker, and we had tested the clicker the day before. Start using the clicker to go through my slides to know what, where you go next and show them where I want to go next. And I see no changes. So I'm clicking and I'm kind of like trying to keep the energy high while I'm clicking through. And after like a minute or so, people start saying like, Toyin, it is changing. And I'm like, what do you mean it's changing? Because I can't see anything. And they were, and then the AV people kind of got it fixed, and my screen caught up with their screen, and evidently I was like halfway through my slides, and so what I loved about it was I just made it a big old joke. Like, I was like, y'all couldn't have told me this earlier. You guys were seeing the whole thing and you didn't say something to assist that. What's going on? And so we, like, the whole crowd, it went from like this like big energy, let's get into the speech, to this big energy, we're all together in this. And it became like family. And that was actually one of the funnest speeches I ever did, because as soon as like I said that, everyone's laughing. We bring the slides back and then we flow, but they were like locked in like she's a human, where I think a lot of the time speakers get on stages and things like that happen and they make it an awkward moment. So they're like, oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, okay, let's go back. And I was just like, nah, this is hilarious. And so I think one thing I do personally all the time is when things go wrong, I laugh like, okay, what was funny about that? Or da 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 da. And then, okay, let's fix that thing.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Wow. Turn a snafu into an opportunity. And I think, dear listener, that's basically what our show is all about. It's taking real life challenges and finding the way to turn it to our advantage, finding the way to see it as a gift. Yeah, find that way to keep pushing through and learning something from it, because it's only failure if you don't learn. So I feel, oh, you have something to say. Something just hit you. Go.
To add to what you just said, I just want to add to what you just said about even the hardest things in our lives. Think past just changing your thinking about it. Like, I start with thinking about it as a gift. You know, what is the gift here? But I don't stop there. I then ask myself, how can this become fuel? So I turn it from a negative to a gift to fuel. So if something negative happens to me, that thing is going to pay for it happening to me. So I'll give you an example. I posted, a lot of people are afraid of posting online because people are going to hate on you. People are going to put a negative comment on my ad or my post or whatever. So we don't show up the way you need to show up online. And we help a lot of people, like, just show up like yourself. So one day, I posted a video about how we had become millionaires, and we were doing an event where I was going to break down the process. And this woman commented on the video, and she said, "You don't even know how to pronounce the word millionaire right." Because I have a Nigerian accent sometimes, right? So certain words, you'll hear the Naija in me come out. So she's like, "You don't even know how to pronounce the word millionaire properly." And that's the kind of comment that makes a lot of people go in their head. Oh my gosh, my accent is not accepted. Oh my gosh, it's because I'm this. Oh my gosh, it's because this. And then all of a sudden, you're not posting anymore. You hold back. But you know what I did? She made that comment. And number one, I responded very graciously and very happily. And I said, I know, right? Which makes it even funner that I am a millionaire. The money in the bank doesn't care how I say it, right? And I was like, but that should be an inspiration to anyone else, because it proves to you that if an immigrant can do it, then why not you? If you don't have an accent, then why shouldn't you have your $1 million? Let's go and get it. But here's the second thing I did with it. Because that person posted this negative comment, oh, you don't know how to pronounce a million, you can't even say the word millionaire right. What do? I go back out there and I write an email about the incident to my email list. Today, it's one of the most responded to, funniest emails. My people love it. I posted about it. People commented. That post I posted about her post went viral. And so it's like, and that brought people to my event, which was what I was trying to bring people to in the first place. So I just tell people, like, if something negative happens, like, this is a funny example, but it was the same thing. We had a miscarriage because we were struggling financially, because of all the stress of it. I talk about it in my book. And one of the things that happened as I healed was I prayed and I said, God, I am asking you that because finances did this to our family, that you wouldn't just bless us with another baby, but that you would bless us. And that was the first time in my life I asked God for a house. I had never asked God for anything, like not a car, not a house, anything for my whole life. I only would talk to him about spiritual things. And that season in that bed, I said, if the devil has used this situation to steal a whole life from our family, I'm asking you, God, that you would restore what the devil tried to steal, but that we would be in a place of stability, so we would have our own home. And we got with it, and I asked him for that that we would have it within a year. And I think it was within a year. Yes, it was within a year. It was a year and a half later. You have to remember, at that point when I prayed that prayer, we didn't have money for rent and stuff. This was when we were still kind of homeless and just moving all over and squatting with people. And and we didn't have the money. We didn't have the down payment. We didn't have good credit. We didn't have any of that stuff. But a year and a half later, I'm 8.5 months pregnant, and we get the keys to our own home. And I have that baby in our own home. And that's what I mean by convert the worst things in your life. Don't just see the gift in it. We saw the gift in it. We were at home. We were together. God just shielded us so much. We were surrounded by family. We were taken care of. But then see the gift and then make it fuel. If this happened, then let's go and make this happen.
Man, I love it. I love the quote. I'm going to journal on this one, team. I'm curious about it. Convert the worst things in your life. I like the idea. I'm going to see where that goes. So thank you for that. And I want to go back to your comment on taking criticism, because that one comment, so many people are either afraid to post things, afraid to share their heart or their reality because they don't want to be judged, the fear of judgment of other people. Somehow, some way, you have cracked the code. Can you talk a little bit about that? How did you find yourself in a place mentally, spiritually? Just how did you do that? Where you took criticism and you made it fun? You took criticism and you made it a teaching opportunity. I mean, just talk to us. How did you get to that place?
That's a whole conversation, but it's a real one. Why? Because I actually was the opposite before. Like, I cared way too much. Even my husband would be like, Toyin, why do you care so much what they think? Like, I cared so much about what people thought about what I would do. That was one of the reasons I wasn't running my business properly, was because my business was helping people with debt freedom in the beginning. And I would have to talk about money. And I was like, all my Christian friends will think that I'm talking about money too much. And in fact, when I now started doing it and running with the business, I actually had some friends that sat me down and were like, Toyin, we've noticed something. We've noticed that, in the past, the only thing you talked about was like Jesus and get to know him and get saved. And now you're talking about bills and money and payments and people needing to like pay for their stuff and get stuff for their family or da da da. And they were like, do you still know God? Like, are you still saved? Like, it was one of those, are you okay conversations? And I love my friends because they're looking out for me. They're trying to make sure that I haven't lost my center. But that was the thing I was afraid of. That was exactly what I was afraid of, was that people were going to think that I had gone in the wrong direction. But I think in that season, what broke me out of it was the vision of the calling of God on my life. It was obedience. It was, if I hold back saying what God has placed in my mouth, I am not going to be held accountable in front of friends or in front of strangers online. I'm going to be held accountable before the very person who put me together in my mother's womb and gave me the ability to speak, gave me a message to share. And at the end of my life, like, my top motivation, I talk about it in my book, Radical Obedience, my top motivation in life is obedience to God. And so even if that means that they do judge me, that they do say, oh, I'm going to say something that I shared this with a client this week because she was struggling with this. She said, I don't want, I've noticed that people I don't want people to hate on me. And the more I grow, the more success I have, the more haters I get. And you know what I said to her? I said, guess what, sis? Average people have haters too.
Yeah.
Yep. Successful people have haters. Average people have haters, because human beings, we don't hold back our opinion on nobody. People hate on homeless people. People hate on billionaires. Every single person on the planet will find a hater somewhere. So if you're going to hate on me, whether I'm struggling or you're going to hate on me if I'm thriving, I might as well be thriving and enjoying my life and saying the thing that God has given me to say, and allow you to hate and keep on doing my thing. As I say, drinking water and minding my business.
I love it. I love it. So the lesson I'm taking here is that you have, I'm just going to use my own words here. Correct me if you see it differently. I'm feeling that you have transcended the immediate short-term criticism, pain, whatever it might be from the naysayers, from the haters, because what has more presence, power, more to you is your vision of how you're serving God. It's your obedience to God. It's your obedience to living to the standard that you feel is the right one. And that is where you find your courage.
Yes.
And that courage you find there it's more radiant and it's brighter in your life than the darkness of the small criticisms from the anonymous person.
Precisely. And even for the people who may not say, it's a God thing, every person on this planet has purpose. And if you can get very clear on your purpose, that purpose is going to shine brighter than the naysayers and the haters.
1,000% agree. Couldn't agree more. Yes. For those out there listening, if you find yourself on the bench trying to get into the game and you're afraid of the opinions of others, then maybe one exercise you might do outside of reaching out to Toyin and hiring her to work with you, working in her organization, might be this. It would be to journey into yourself, reflect on your purpose. How crystal clear or clear as mud? I mean, which is it? So just think about that purpose. This has been great to hear you talk about this. Well, so I guess talk to us about where you're pouring this purpose today. We know that you have coached 70,000 people, but we don't know the format you're doing that. Talk to us about where you're pouring that passion into your coaching, into serving people now.
That's awesome. So there are 3 specific ways we help people right now. The first way that we help people is anyone who wants to grow financially. So you want to learn the laws of money. You want to make money work for you. You don't want to plateau wherever you are. You don't have to be homeless to start. Like you could be doing 100,000 a year, 500,000 a year, $5 million a year, but there's more, 50,000 a year. There's more, and you've been trying to get to the more, and you don't know why you're not getting to that level. We have a process that we help people through where we help them to identify what are the limiting beliefs about money that are keeping them plateaued where they are. We help them to shift it, and then we train them strategically around increasing their income or revenue. So it's both business owners and career professionals. So that's the first arm of what we do. The second arm of what we do is for people that are like, Toyin, money is not really my challenge. I just know there's more in my life. And so these are people who want to transform who they're being. They want to rewire their identity. They want to eliminate stagnation. They want to take control of their future and live the life they envision on the inside. And for those people, we have a program where we literally show up every single week and we coach you around how to build mental toughness, how to reinvent yourself. So we actually have a challenge coming up called reinventyourself.ca. And you literally go to reinventyourself.ca and you're able to come to our challenge and learn and multiply and grow. And then the third thing that we do is we actually work with corporations, HR directors, team leads, in helping them with their teams break procrastination, execute faster, and get results. So our specialty is in the way that people think, why people procrastinate, and just helping them to get into a culture of execution. And those are the 3 arms of the work that we do now. But as you guys can tell, every single thing we do is about transformation. We believe that individuals can be transformed financially. Individuals can be transformed in their lives overall. So we look at your relationships, your health, your money, your business or career, and your faith. And then we believe corporations can be transformed if the people in the corporations are transformed.
Whew. So many ways to look at transformation and ways to approach it. Let me ask you this. Where might we start? Like, I'm interested, I'm inspired by what you're sharing today, and I want to learn more about you, learn with you. Where do I go now online to find you, Toyin?
You would go to toyincrandell.com. toyincrandell.com. That's going to take you to the books that I've released, best-selling books, Money Mindset Shift Church Edition, Radical Obedience. toyincrandell.com will take you to our corporate work, the work we do for businesses, the work we do for individuals. Every single thing is at toyincrandell.com. And then you can get the books on Amazon.
And I feel remiss if we didn't ask you to talk about your Spotify, because I've been enjoying your music. So talk to us about your music a little bit too. I actually thought we were coming to talk about that today. And then as I'm doing my deep dive on you, I realized, wait a second, she's like a super successful business leader. And I'm here because I did not know you first as business leader. This is a real treat. I knew you as singer, as artist. That's where I've been finding my joy from you. So to really hear a different story than I expected has been super cool.
Oh, that's dope.
Talk about your music.
This
please.
Is the part of my life that like everything makes me joyful. Like the different things we do make me joyful. But I will definitely say that music is the part of my life that brings me the most joy. That's actually how I met my husband, was through music. He plays the bass, I sang, and he came to play on my first album release, and we have been inseparable ever since. But my music is on Spotify. We released a single. I actually did We have 4 albums, so you can check them out. Toyin Crandell. The latest release that we did last year was called "What Is Too Difficult for You." And I'll just say one cool story about this song is I had been out of singing for 9 years. So God tells me to do business and focus in, Toyin, stop, because I wasn't letting go of music. Like, I love music. We play music all the time. So when he told me to do music, a business, I was trying to like still do touring and still go to these churches and sing all these places. And for 9 years, he was like, Toyin, no, sit down and run your business. Get your finances together. Get to a place where you can release the music, but you're not doing it out of a place of drowning and such. Like, just focus in. So we did for 9 years. I kind of let go of the dream of releasing music and being on stages and doing what I used to do. And I just focus. And last year, I'm writing a book. It was called Radical Obedience. It became a best-selling book, how to live out the secrets of surrender to God and live it out in a practical way. The book took me 8 years, right? So as I'm writing the book, there's this song. So even though I'm not releasing music or singing on stages, I was still singing in the house. And so there's this song that I had been singing to encourage myself. What is too difficult for you? Nothing too difficult for you. And I was just telling myself, like, there's nothing too difficult for God. Even if this book has taken me 8 years, it is going to be done. It's going to be finished. And I'm singing it and I finished the book. So I'm just celebrating that the book is done. And we planned the book release, and God goes, that song that you've been singing to encourage yourself when you're trying to do something that looked impossible, it wasn't just for you. It's for everybody else. So he goes, I want you to record the song, produce the song, release the song at the same time as you release the book. Except I haven't sung for 9 years now.
Huh. Wow.
I literally had to like find myself a vocal coach, be like, this is what my voice can do. Can you get me where this song deserves my voice to be? She's like, we are going to need God, but let's do this. And we did. And since then he released me back into singing. And the song actually, so here's the cool part. The book was my focus. The song is what went viral. The song got over 700,000 listens all over the world. The top place it's listened to is in Brazil, then Mexico, then the United States of America. And so it just, like, I just think God is so amazing in the way he leads our lives, right? Where he's like, step out. Will you trust me? And will you be obedient and step out of the thing you love, which for me is music, and do what I've called you to do, which is service through business. And then he goes, okay, Toyin, now you can come back over here and you can do both. And it's cool because now we do music and it's not like, I'm not stressed about the money of music, because guys, producing a song costs money. But it wasn't the money, that it wasn't a thing. I was just praying, God, reach the people, touch their hearts. Where before I would pray those prayers, but I would also be praying, God, we need $10,000 for the studio right now. Please, 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 please provide. And now it's just, we don't have to think about that. We can just say, what's the best way we can get this music out to the world?
Wow. Dear listener, you hear
so
it
find
there.
Me on Spotify.
Yeah. And this song, what's too difficult? What's the full name of it? Because I can't see it on Spotify.
What is too difficult for you? Yes.
What is too difficult for you? And I have it pulled up right now. It's been one on my listening for puzzle night a couple times in the last month. So check it out, team. Toyin Crandell on Spotify.
Yes.
Toyin, this has been rich and fantastic today. I want to thank you. And we are down to our lightning round here. So I got a last couple questions for you before we wrap things up.
All right.
I would like to ask you, through all of your studies and learning, if you've come across any books that you've read that have had an impact, what might be 1 to 3 books that have had an impact that you recommend?
Man, there's a lot of books that have transformed my life. But one of the ones I would highly recommend is called Money Won't Make You Rich. Money Won't Make You Rich by Sunday Adelaja. He was actually on my podcast last week, and this guy's brain is just, he's a different type of thinker. Like, a lot of the things he says, I'm like, I disagree when I first hear it. And then he explains it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that is true. Anyway, so money won't make you rich. Okay. So that's number one. Another book that transformed my life is called Reese Howells Intercessor. Reese Howells Intercessor. And a final book that transformed my life, like literally these were like key books that I read that had a deep impact on me, is Talent is Never Enough by John Maxwell. That book, man, I had it for 2 years, didn't read it, got angry that my parents bought it for me. And because I was so good and talented, and what do you mean talent's not enough? And then when my $150,000 business got shut down, I shut it down because I didn't have the emotional capacity to handle a $150,000 business. I was 16 to 18 back then. Then I went to go find that book, Talent is Never Enough. And it made me realize it's true. Talent is never enough. So those are 3 books I would recommend. But if you haven't read my books, you need to read Money Mindset Shift, Church Edition, and you also want to read Radical Obedience, The Secrets of Surrender and a Lived Out Love for God.
Thank you. Thank you. So we have Toyin's books, of course. You can find those. We can find those at toyincrandell.com. Is that right?
Correct.
We can get the books there. Okay, good.
And any of our we do a lot of free events, free challenges and things. So if you go to toyincrandell.com, you'll be able to connect with any of the live event trainings that we do. So if you just have a question for me and you want to be able to like ask me the question directly, come to one of our live event trainings and then you can see me in the Zoom and be like, hey, Toyin, I watched you on the Eternal Optimist podcast and I had this question for you.
Boom. That's what I'm talking about. Okay.
That's right.
Let's go to music. Of course, we're going to listen to your music. What other music might have captured your heart, your mind, your spirit, your soul? Like what fires you up with music?
Okay, I have different, like my music preferences change over the years, but I'm gonna tell you what I'm really vibing to right now. So I love this artist called Limo Blaze. People call him Limo Blaze, but the first time I read it, I thought Limo, and now that's how it is in my head. It's like a Limo Blaze, like fire. So LIMOBLAZE. I love his songs. They're so much fun. And I think that's like, I listen to Christian Afrobeats. That's pretty much it for the last like 2 years. So he would be the summary of what I'm listening to right now.
Okay, Limo Blaze. I'm looking at him right now. That's going to be what I listen to as soon as we finish up here, baby. Yeah.
You will have a blast.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Toyin, we're down to the final question, and you have the final word. You're on the Eternal Optimist podcast. What does Eternal Optimist mean to you?
Ooh. What came to my mind thinking of the words Eternal Optimist is the belief that there's always good to be found, right? Like there's a verse in the Bible that says that he works all things out for good for those who love him, as in God makes everything work out for good for those who love him. And that's what comes to my mind is even the things that we may find a hard time finding where's the good in this, there's good there. And our work, and it is work, don't get it twisted. Our work is finding the good when it is difficult to find it. Anyone can find the good from a win. And when you got featured, I just got featured in Forbes magazine. Oh, that's good. But those types of wins only happen when we know and discipline ourselves to find the good when it doesn't look good. And so when I think of Eternal Optimist, number one, it's the thought of eternity, where that's something that drives me a lot is I am so very aware that this life we live, even if you live to 120, it's so short. It's so short. And there's billions of years coming where we will exist. And so I'm very, very conscious of how am I living now so that I enjoy how I'm living on the other side of this 120 years. That's one. But also having that perspective of there is good to be found in everything.